what's going on, guys? GZTV here. I'm sorry that these videos are coming out a little late. Football was today. I'm going to make two quick videos before I head to I gotta go to bed in like an hour or 5 minutes. So I'm just going to get some videos out for you guys real quick. Hopefully I'm not too loud. But we have Better Call Saul. The 6th episode of the 3rd season, Off-Brand. A pretty interesting episode. A lot of revelations. A lot of life changes for Jimmy McGill. So let's just get into the plot and then the critical reception. Hopefully we have some speaking points here, but yeah. Nacho Varga, collects the weekly street dealer payments. We kind of see how that goes down with Hector's group, kind of his cartel, his mini cartel, sub cartel, whatever you want to call it, kind of going on. Not much of an intro, but we're kind of done for video games for a while. Not streaming wise on Twitch, that's where we're going to be doing shit like that. But in terms of putting stuff on the YouTube, I'm going to take a little break from that, as there's really nothing interesting to make videos on. So yeah, Domingo Molina's is short, and if you've watched Breaking Bad, he looks familiar. It is Crazy 8. So Crazy 8 gets introduced into the Better Call Saul storyline as one of Hector's or Nacho's henchmen, whichever one. So Hector Salamanca prompts Nacho to administer a beating as a warning sign not to do it again. The cartel takes their operations very seriously, so obviously there's going to be a lot of consequences if you turn your back on the cartel. So that's kind of what happened here with Domingo Molina, aka Crazy 8, which he's not going to really be known for as Crazy 8 until later. But anyways, moving on to the main storyline, Kim Wexler makes her closing argument to the Bar Association's disciplinary committee. So that's kind of big time. That case, that whole storyline with Jimmy going against Chuck is kind of closing out. And yeah, Rebecca Bois tries to see Chuck McGill at his house, but he does not answer the door, obviously, which with what happened in the last episode, the audience kind of infers that this did not go well for Chuck and that Jimmy is not getting punished as much as he probably should. I'm not on Jimmy's side of this, but obviously he's the main character, so I gotta root for him to do well. Kind of a parallel that we draw with the whole Breaking Bad thing and Walter White. So, the committee suspends Jimmy McGill for a year, but does not disbar him. So he's still considered an attorney. He's still considered a lawyer. Whatever, he just can't partake in the law for a year. So he's got to find some stuff to hold it down. Anyways, Mike Ehrmantraut, let's move to his part of the story. He accompanies Stacy Ehrmantraut to a support group meeting where she talks about how she and Kaylee are dealing with Matt Ehrmantraut's death. Obviously, they're still mourning. This didn't happen that long ago. Obviously, Mike's son. Stacy tells Mike she volunteered him to help build a playground for the church. So, yeah. That doesn't really matter to the overall story that much, but that's kind of what's going on. We kind of see some family life from Mike, which is great, because we saw him as like a soulless man in Breaking Bad, and now it all makes sense. Chuck lets Howard Hamlin into his house. That's the only guy he'll probably let into his house at this point, because that's the only guy that's truly on his side in this situation. So yeah, Howard says Chuck should consider Jimmy's suspension a victory and tries to dissuade him from continuing the vendetta. He doesn't want him to keep going after Jimmy because it shows that, Jimmy has beat him in life pretty much. Obviously Chuck has made more money, so that's not really a good comparison to make and stuff. He's more successful, he has his own kind of firm running, you get the gist. But Jimmy cannot keep getting in his head, and Howard wants him. He's not on Jimmy's side here. He just wants him to get away from Jimmy, start new beginnings, keep going with HHM. Chuck seemingly agrees, and after Howard leaves, Chuck is revealed to be holding a battery in an attempt to overcome his EHS symptoms. So he realizes that Jimmy tricked him, and the whole syndrome's in his head. So he's trying to kind of get that out of his life and move on and fully commit to the law and return to the offices. Realizing he will lose money if the TV ads for which he has prepaid air as scheduled, Jimmy rushes to cancel them. So obviously he can't be put on the air as a lawyer because he's out of practice for a year, and it's illegal in itself to advertise yourself as something that you are not at the moment. The early cancellation will cost $4,000 plus penalties, so he tries to find a use for the time and tries to find other people to put on TV, and he can replace the other ones and put them on the air and make some money off of it, make his money back. Sherry suggests he shoot a commercial for himself, pitching his ability to produce ads for other businesses. So obviously after they go around and they figure out that like no one wants to work with Jimmy, which is understandable. I mean, it seems kind of fraudulent even without knowing Jimmy. She's like, make one for yourself. At the Los Pollos Hermanos farm, Nacho and Arturo inspect cocaine bricks and choose the Salamanca's portion, but Nacho attempts to take 6 instead of the agreed upon 5, so he's obviously pushing it. Hector Salamanca has a big rivalry going on right now with Gus Fring, which we didn't realize in Breaking Bad, and now that the storyline's starting to kind of develop, it's definitely something to appreciate about the show. Tyrus Kitt, obviously the bodyguard, or one of the guys that worked for Gus in Breaking Bad, he calls Gus Fring, who says to give Nacho the 6 kilo. He's like, fine, let him have it. We don't want any trouble with these guys. We have the arms to kill them. Gus Fring knows this, but right now he wants a smooth transition with his relationship there. Gus and Lydia Rodarte Quayle. So obviously Lydia, this episode gets introduced too. So obviously the whole Breaking Bad cast is just coming together in a beautiful way. They inspect an industrial laundry facility that is for sale, and as you have it in Breaking Bad, that is going to be the super lab. So again, things are just starting to pull together. We have some pieces still loose, but man, Chuck attempts to defeat his EHS by walking through downtown Albuquerque to kind of build a tolerance for the environment and the electricity. He panics and uses a payphone to contact his therapist, but is told that she is unavailable, so he is out in the city suffering from EHS. So that's not good for him. Hector tells Nacho he plans to use Manuel Varga's upholstery shop as a new front business, which concerns Nacho because obviously Manuel Varga, not really hinted at before, but he is Nacho's father. So he's using his father for his operation. Hector is outraged to learn that Tuco Salamanca's prison term will be extended because he stabbed another inmate. Obviously, Tuco couldn't contain himself. Being this hothead, being this short-tempered guy that he is, obviously, we knew that he wasn't going to be able to have a hold on himself when he was in prison. His anger causes a coughing fit, and Hector spills his angina medication, showing that he's kind of going against Hector. Like, he doesn't really like Hector deep down. He just needs to roll with it so he doesn't get killed. After Hector picks them up, Nacho notices that Hector inadvertently left one capsule behind, which Nacho secretly picks up and is not planning on giving back to Hector. He does not like Hector. We should probably know that by now. It makes sense. Jimmy explains to Kim his intent to offer his services as producer and spokesman in ads for local businesses, and shows Kim a videotape in which he wears a disguise and uses the alias Saul Goodman. Saul Goodman. So obviously this episode is the birth of one of the biggest characters. You know Jimmy McGill, but if you haven't watched Breaking Bad, you do not know Saul Goodman yet. He is going to be a legend. You're going to grow to love him if you've never heard of him. I mean, this is a really monumental, very momentous episode. It changes a lot of things. It changes the landscape of the Breaking Bad universe. We're starting to shift into Breaking Bad like full swing. Gus finding the super lab, us meeting Lydia, Crazy 8 pulling up on the scene. I mean, the beginning of Breaking Bad is starting to build up, and it's going to be beautiful once we reach that point. Obviously, the episode received critical acclaim. I mean, it is in the Breaking Bad universe, one of the best TV shows, if not the best TV show of all time. Rotten Tomatoes, 100%, 8.3 out of 10. This is probably one of the better episodes. I mean, obviously the last episode was a lot more acclaimed, but Off-Brand adds another well-written, solidly crafted chapter to Better Call Saul's terrific third season, as well as a reminder that even the show's transitional episodes are compelling. Like, this episode's purpose wasn't really to add anything to the storyline. It was just kind of pulling things together so we can add to the new storylines later. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. We have one more video to shoot for the night. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. As always, it has been GZ TV, bringing you guys your favorite TV shows and all the reviews of every single episode. I mean, if you see one episode get reviewed for a TV show, you better know that down the line all the other episodes will get reviewed, so that's nice. We're progressing through The Walking Dead. We're progressing through Better Call Saul. Yeah, it's been great.